Hi, I'm Nat.
And I'm Guy, and we got Mr. Beast in Mexico,
Yes, causing controversy as always.
as well as the Superman trailer. We talked a little bit about it the other day, but we're going to go a little bit more in depth. And what else do we got? Hollywood at risk of becoming the new Detroit. And then we'll get into politics. We like to avoid the YouTube censorship by going into pop culture first.
Yeah, we don't want them to notice.
If you haven't liked and subscribed, please do so. We're
Yes.
trying to we're trying to grow the channel.
And it really does help. And thank you to everybody that has subscribed thus far.
Yeah. Okay, let's get right into it.
Sure.
Mr. Beast in Mexico, you covered this on your Spanish show on Nat and the Guy in Espanol. So
Yes.
if you are a Spanish speaker, feel free to check out that channel. But
Yes,
what do you
so,
say about it?
well, US YouTuber Mr. Beast sparks controversy by filming at Mexico's archaeological sites. He was in Chichen Itza and Calakmul, I don't remember where. But essentially, now all of Mexico is angry because nobody can believe that he got authorization while other archaeologists and some other projects don't. And it's been very confusing, all of the communication that has been going out from the government and from the institution that let him go do that, because you need permissions to enter these sites. They're very historical, they're very important to be preserved.
Yeah, but Mr. Beast tends to get on a lot of these sites, and there's a lot of globalist controversy. If you go down these conspiracy theory rabbit holes, like I love to go down.
Yeah.
When he went to the Arctic, he was involved in a huge controversy. Why was he allowed in certain areas when other people aren't? His video when he went underneath the pyramids to this day, especially recently, has got a lot of traction because now that they did the in-depth scans underneath the Giza pyramid, they're finding these chambers, and a lot of people said that Mr. Beast had already gone under there, and they already knew about these chambers. So that was very interesting, and now he's being allowed into these pyramids, which are supposed to be completely off limits.
Yes, because for the longest time they weren't off limits, and people would go in and cut a little bit of the rock to take it as a souvenir, or do graffiti like Guy Loves Nat, stupid stuff like that. So they started saying, the tourists are not respecting our archaeological sites, so we're gonna limit who can go in. There have been other documentaries filmed, National Geographic, etc., but a lot of them haven't been allowed to go in. And apparently, Mr. Beast went in with a drone and with equipment that usually isn't allowed. And at first, the president said, I don't see anything wrong with it. Sheinbaum said, I don't see anything wrong with it. Then the people that let him in originally, the institute, the INA, which is the National Institute for Art and Historical Art, something like that, said that they did let him in. All the permissions were as they should be. And now they're coming out and saying they're going to sue him because he went against what they allowed him to do.
Okay, I think Mr. Beast is involved in some shady business with all these conspiracy theories he's been in, but that's just me because I go down these rabbit holes. But with this particular case, you can't really fault Mr. Beast for this. This is the Mexican government. Maybe the right palms were greased here. I don't know.
Yes, and
but the Mexican government's the one that approved everything here.
And it is very obvious that Mr. Beast has money to throw around. So
Yeah.
Also in Egypt, probably in the Arctic. I mean, that's how he got in. That's not a mystery to anybody.
I don't know. He's been seen with a lot of different globalist things like this. So he puts on this front of this good Christian. I don't know if that's the case. A lot of people are saying satanic worship. I'm not saying satanic worship, but I'm just saying online some of these videos are.
Okay, that part I didn't cover in my video because it's dumb. But apparently now he's embroiled in a lawsuit with Mexican authorities because they've kind of gone back on what they were saying they let him do, and now they're saying not. So it's also the Mexican government's fault because
he's just going to grease some more palms in this.
Yes, and as I say, he always somehow ends up coming out kind of unscathed off of all of these controversies with Chris, his trans friend, that became a girl and left his family. The whole Mr. Beast burger thing, he also came out kind of unscathed. The whole Lunchly or Lunchables? Lunchly thing where there was cheese with mold in it, he also was able to kind of just... So how does he end up being in the controversy and then everybody forgets about it right away?
This is kind of crazy because if you are Mexico, Mr. Beast is the biggest YouTuber around. You want to be on good relations with him. You want him to interact with other Mexican YouTubers. You want him to interact with the country itself. This is going to bring a lot of tourism. It spreads good messaging for the Mexican government. So having this controversy really is not a good thing for the Mexican government.
I mean, they already have quite a few anyways. So I guess this actually could serve as a good distraction because they could end up I mean, they always end up looking stupid, but they could end up being like, we're trying to defend our patrimony and our sites, and he was wrong, and we're going to go after him. So, I mean, they could come out looking a bit better as the government, trying to protect, but they were the ones that let him in the first place.
But if he's making money off of this YouTube video and he's sending remittances back to the United States, what's going to happen there?
And they were also mad because the INA, so the people that let him in, Archaeology whatever institute, said that they didn't know and they didn't let him film for commercial purposes. And it's like, that's all Mr. Beast does. He has like 1 million, what are they called? The people that pay you to put stuff on there?
Businesses and advertisers.
Advertisers, yes.
Yeah.
And ad revenue, but also, why can't I think of the name? Not promoters.
I don't
The
know.
ones that pay you.
Let's continue on here.
Okay.
Oh, let's go into, did you manage to get the Hollywood at Risk of Becoming the New
Yes.
Detroit? Perfect. This was actually on Film Thread earlier, and they actually had an interview with some independent directors that have done a lot of movies in Hollywood, and he really went in depth and gave me a good understanding of why LA is not a good place to film. But why don't we read a little bit of the article first?
So, Hollywood at risk of becoming the next Detroit Auto, LA production insiders voice alarm. As the new tally shows plummeting shoot days in Los Angeles, organizers gathered to strategize on ways to get post-production and music incentives included in California's bill to boost the industry.
Okay, I'll go a little bit into this, then we'll read the comments. We got quite a few comments already.
Sure.
Okay, so there's below the line cost and over the line cost. Over the line costs are going to be your main actors that are working months and months on set at a time, your directors, your cinematographers, where the majority of your cost actually go for like on set production and stuff like that. Most states and most countries will reimburse that cost, so that's a huge cost paid back. For instance, if it's a $9 million film, you usually get on over-the-line costs $3 million back. In LA, you get none of that cost back. Location costs are extremely, extremely expensive in LA. Everybody knows the locations there. They're renting them out. The director that they were interviewing on Film Threat was giving the example of he recently shot in Kentucky. He wanted to rent a bar out. The bar owner said, you know what, you can shoot in here for free. Just use me and my staff for free as well, because we just want to be in the movie.
That's cute. And I mean, yeah, if they go look for other locations, they start filming elsewhere, number one, it's cheaper, but number two, it also kind of helps the local economy, I'm guessing.
People are excited to have the movie industry where the movie industry isn't. LA just doesn't like the movie industry, and they tend to scam the movie industry a lot. He was saying very often, like a little bodega or some location they're going to rent out says, yeah, $5,000 rented out. They show up the day of. They said, well, it's $10,000 now. Give us another $5,000 in cash. Otherwise, you can't film. And then he says, you're stuck because you have all the trucks there. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you have to give it to him. Once you give him that money, he tells the neighbors. The neighbors say, you're blocking our business. You need to give us $2,000. So you have to make all these payments. And people are really jaded in LA, and they know how to hustle the movie industry, the movie executives.
And I mean, even in Vancouver, that is also a film industry kind of town, and they're always filming something somewhere.
But they don't
even when I was in the industry, it would annoy me when they were blocking streets. And I mean, when I wasn't working that day or whatever, but they were blocking streets or they were asking people not to walk by certain parts or to be quiet. I mean, it does get annoying, but if you never have that in your town or in your city, and it's like this new novelty thing, I mean, let's remember also Yellowstone, for example. They went up to, where did they film it? Montana. I was confused between Minnesota and Montana. They filmed it in Montana, and I'm guessing, and they had this whole ranch, and they made a partnership with the ranch that was also used to be and was a working ranch. So, I mean, they can build up huge productions with less cost, but also including like the people and actually helping them as well.
Yeah, one of the other big costs in LA is the gas cost, and we did a story on that the other day. It's like it can be double or triple other places in the country, and when you have hundreds of trucks and gas generators and things like this, this kind of cost really does add up. People have been fleeing
California.
The LA movie industry specifically for the past 10 years. It's been diversifying globally and through all the states. The states really have competitive regulations to kind of lure the film industry there. And although Vancouver is a big movie town, people may be a little bit burned out there of having the movie people there. The government isn't.
Yeah,
It's
they
a
love it.
huge industry there. They give major tax incentives.
Yes.
So
And they let them, like, if it's a big production. If you're a tiny production, it's impossible to get permits. We even, like, looked into it because we wanted to film maybe, I don't know, in the art gallery or whatever. It's impossible to get permits, but for them, they make it very easy to go, essentially go film anywhere. I mean, some of the sets that I got to work in were in pretty amazing places. So they kind of give the city to the big production companies.
Also, another big thing is if you do watch movies, I can almost always tell where a movie is located at. It's either usually shot, at least the bigger features and bigger television shows are either shot in LA, Georgia, North or South Carolina, New York, or Vancouver, or Toronto or London. And and the reason they're shot in those locations is there's something called William White's. If you've ever worked in the movie industry,
Yeah.
especially if you have grip or a lighting or something like that, you're gonna know this is a global corporation that's just a warehouse filled with high-end movie equipment, all the grip equipment, lighting equipment, camera equipment you need. You just go there with the list. They fill up your trucks. It's all paid
They
by
give you the trucks.
wire transfer and check.
Yeah.
There's no money exchanged, and those big warehouses are set up in these specific locations. That's why if a state or a country has a tax break and they have a William White's rental house there, that's typically where the movies are going to go, because if something breaks or they need something, they can just go to William White's, get the equipment, and go back to set.
And it's all insured, and there's
Yeah.
protections, and they hire. Yeah, it's a whole thing. So it's easier for them to do that.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I remember all the trucks at WW
Yeah.
with a circle.
In Mexico, it's a little bit more independent, so they don't have that here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing they have their own things, and Televisa has their whole, I mean, corruption also, but their whole thing, and then TV Azteca has their own thing. And
Well,
also Netflix, there's a Netflix studio here now. But I'll go read the comments because we have
And
a
they're all
lot.
in English now. This is nice.
Oh, yeah, because it's an English channel.
Yeah, I know, but it's the same people from our other
Yes.
channel coming over.
Hello, Rafa and Walker. Once again, thank you for being here and commenting and for the hearts. So Walker says, Nat's teacher must be very angry reading the article where they call them pyramids. Because I said, in my history teacher, I think, or geography, used to be really angry because he would make the distinction that it was like pyramids had a little thing, and the ones that we have here are like this, they're flat. So that's a basamento,
Yeah.
with the ones that don't have a little hat. And he would always correct us, but in every article I kept reading, they weren't calling them that, so now I'm not sure if they actually called that or he lied or what.
Yeah.
And Rafa said, be careful on that. I had a teacher that claimed that Anastasia was alive. I watched the movie. I'd like to believe she was. And then Walker, there's a lot of women that came out and claimed that they were either Anastasia or the long-lost sibling of
Who's
Anastasia.
Anastasia?
You don't know?
No, I don't know.
From the last
Well, I don't
Roman,
know. A lot of people probably don't know.
from the last Russian Empire? The princess?
No, I watch a lot of Russian politics too. So
The
maybe I should know
princess
this
from
one.
Russia.
I don't know.
When they massacred when they did horrible things to the whole family, and the proletariat came up against
You're making no sense. You're just saying like Trump bad. That's what you sound like right now.
hold on.
Make full sentences.
Romanovs, the Romanovs.
Okay, make full sentences.
Anastasia Romanov. She was the princess
Yes.
when Russia used to have a king,
Okay.
an emperor.
Now it's making sense.
They,
Continue.
the peoples, the Russian peoples, stood up against them. They had a revolution and ended up ending the lives of all the royal
She
family.
escaped.
And they say she escaped.
Okay. Okay, that makes more sense.
But others say that she was actually also, her life was also ended, etc. Walker says, call me crazy, but doesn't Mexico have more important things to deal with? Like certain gentlemen with big hats and large tinted SUVs without license plates. Of course they have more important things to deal with than Mr. Beast walking around a pyramid or basamento or whatever you want to call it. But it's easier to get this to be huge, big news so people don't focus on what's actually happening in this damn
A
country.
lot of people are gonna watch that episode now as well. If it ever
Yes,
comes
of
out.
course. It came out.
Oh, it did.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can watch it. It came out
I
May
don't watch
10th.
Mr. Beast, but
I don't either. Rafa says, guys, audio sounds a little crappy.
Oh, it's probably have that. Maybe I have a little bit of an echo.
You can check that if you want. Then Walker says, yeah, like the Lord of the Roosters. Rafa said that. And then Walker said, who's that guy? And Rafa says, the most evil guy in Mexico. Look for it in Spanish. I'm going to get some information about him. Yes. And I mean, again, I do try to keep that a little
Testing.
on the DL, talking about all those topics, because, I mean, of course you do get kind of panicky that something could happen to you if you talk too much in depth about them or give names and stuff, so I try not to. But I do cover, I mean, the important part is that our government isn't doing anything about it, and that they're in cahoots with them. There's corruption everywhere. A lot of them are part of it. Now that we're having the judicial elections, I mean, that's going to be a shit show. So I do cover it on that sense, but because I want most of the blame to be on the people that should be controlling it, try not to focus so much on the bad people themselves, because one, it's not so safe, and two, it's not that great to give them that exposure, which is what they also want. Even though they get mad at you and then they end your life because you expose them. But
Okay, hopefully it's better now.
okay, let us know if audio got better for Guy. If not, sorry.
We did cover the Superman trailer earlier. Again, we're not going to play it because Warner Brothers is really
Being mean.
going after content creators big time ever since The Last
Last
of Us, actually.
like all the criticism
Ours
came
made it
out.
by because we didn't play any clips from
Yeah.
The Last of Us, but all the other creators are like, they're completely getting demonetized, the videos getting taken down, things like that. Warner Brothers does not like the backlash they've been getting on a lot of their movies.
Well, then make good movies.
So they're trying to shut down content creators by flagging them, demonetizing them, hoping they can limit the reach of these content creators. But if they made better movies, they would
wouldn't know
want
it.
content creators to
Yes.
talk about it. And this Superman new trailer actually got good reviews, so
Yeah.
they should have people talking about it. I think they were freaked out from the last Superman trailer, and this thing
Because they did
have-
mess that up.
This had a couple political undertones too, so it could have went either way. I personally liked the trailer, and they distracted with a lot of action sequences, almost too many. It's like I almost seen the whole movie.
But it's funny that even our video, the one in Spanish about The Last of Us, like usually the YouTube checks for copyright and in case if you can monetize it or not, and then they give you like 2 little ticks whenever you upload a video, and usually that takes 5 minutes at most if it's a really long video for us.
Took a day
But
and a half.
no, it's still doing it.
No,
It
no, I
still says,
finished.
but on the app at least, on our studio app, it still says checking. So you can tell that they were being like anything that said Last of Us, they're being very iffy with YouTube themselves as well.
Yeah.
So
Let's go into this though.
yeah, new Superman trailer shows a man trying to do what's right. This is from that Park Place. Once again, go follow WDW Pro. But will James Gunn do right by the fans?
And this before we go on, go up a little bit. Yeah, that screenshot right there,
That was-
Superman flying, is kind of a lot of backlash was given to the CGI
Yes.
and the choice of camera angles because it made him look really skinny and things like that. That's usually
Look
the
at him
choice
go
of camera angle.
Dopey.
Yeah, and it makes your nose big. It makes your face look a lot different.
Yeah.
But
He looks
that-
like a potato.
But that being said, the CGI was actually really good. A lot of shady CGI movies always make the scene at night or in dusk. They don't want daylight scenes, so you can't really see the CGI well. This one, they did daylight scenes. The CGI does look good. So
And also with CGI, I mean, it happened in The Little Mermaid. It happened with other movies that they do live action and it's really CGI heavy. They look very dark because also during the rendering and during the CGI process, colors get crushed and light gets crushed and everything is very hard to recover what's actually, or to even bring it up and make it up in the computers. So that's why a lot of things with CGI look so dark
Yeah.
and why a lot just you do it at night.
well, also the rotoscoping and stuff like that, you can really disguise it by using darker scenes. So
But yes, the official trailer for, maybe they're coming for me because I said too many things about the government. Let's hope not. The official trailer for James Gunn's Superman has finally landed, and with it a tidal wave of analysis, speculation, and renewed concern for longtime DC fans. With bright visuals, fast-paced action, and intense focus on morality. In a complicated world, the trailer suggests that Superman might deliver something epic, but beneath the surface, not everyone's convinced. We can't see the trailer.
Oh, and Superman, if you know the storyline, it's truth, justice, and the American way, and that should have been the political undertones. But this movie was filmed during the woke era, and it was definitely written right in the heart of that. So you can see a lot of undertones when he's talking to Lois Lane or his father that it doesn't really put America first, and it kind of has that anti-message, and you can still see it in here, but it seems like they're trying to take it out and distract with other things. I just think they're not able to take it all out,
Yeah.
and they don't want it to surprise the audience. So if they can slip a little bit into the trailer to kind of prep the audience, then the audience will be okay. Well, we already expected that, but the rest of the movie was good.
Yes, apparently in the trailer, Lewis, which is the romantic partner, presses him hard about an incident where Superman intervened in a foreign conflict to stop a war. Her line of questioning draws attention to international borders, governmental overreach, and whether Superman is operating as an agent of the United States. So I mean, there's your
It's basically
political
the Captain
overtones.
America plotline. I'm not representing America. I'm there by myself, but
Yeah.
your name's Captain America and you're Superman.
Yes,
Like, okay.
the American way.
I mean, if they would have leaned hard into American traditional Americana, and traditional Superman things, I think that would have really served this movie well. I don't know with this actor. There may be some backlash. I think he's going to be average at best, and you just had Henry
Cavill. No, I'm saying it like you, Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill, and he is beloved. I mean, he dated Gina Carano. Everybody then I knew met him because he was working at the hotel across from the bar I was working at, and he would constantly go into the theater by himself to watch movies. People would come out of the theater and said, "Oh, I sat next to Henry Cavill." They would come in the bar. He was always very nice. Everybody had good things to say about this guy, and he's really, as far as Warhammer and other big IPs that people love, he's really trying to go back to traditional values with those IPs. So people really do love him. It's going to be hard to follow him up, especially when have this what looks like a lot of politics added into this movie, and he just doesn't look like Henry Cavill.
Apparently, so this is what fans are concerned about. It seems
I
annoying.
will say that the trailer looked as good as it could look. Especially, I wasn't expecting much after I watched the first trailer.
So apparently, some of the things people are angry about is Super Esh and online trolls. A leaked plot point reported that Superman would be frustrated by online hate, specifically from a hashtag campaign criticizing his actions. Lex Luthor is set to deploy mutant monkeys to flood the internet with anti-Superman propaganda.
Yeah, but that's not true, actually.
No?
People are loving that plot point
Okay.
because it's kind of been leaked that was a plot
Why
point.
are people liking
And what
that?
Disney did to James Gunn, it goes along with that plot point. So that's why it's kind of James Gunn trolling Disney here. And people actually like that, and they're kind of wanting to see it just for that scene.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going with this.
Trailer Clark, the fact that he lives in a double white trailer and goes against the classic Americana imagery. And Creature Commandos echoes. Gunn has already faced criticism for inserting agenda-driven messaging into Creature Commandos, including the now infamous Incel Army subplot. Fans worry similar tactics might resurface in Superman.
Yeah, they're gonna have to try to edit out as much as they can, and just
Any
focus on it,
anti-man stuff?
and just add more action into it, and then just hopefully you walk away with an average movie with little backlash. So then the next Superman you'll be able to kind of fix everything that happened in this one that was written kind of during the woke era. So James Gunn naturally I would have thought he would have went away from that, but it looked like he leaned into it. So, okay. Do you have anything else to say about Superman?
I want to get our dog a little cape.
Oh, okay. Let's
She
keep
would
going.
look cute. It can be pink.
We talked a little bit about Blake Lively earlier, so maybe we can skip that story. It was the most interesting.
Oh, apparently Guy's audio didn't approve.
I didn't improve?
No.
Oh, I don't know what to do then.
Maybe we crossed cables?
Oh, maybe.
Rafa says that story reminds me of Superman from the Tick Amazing Show. Never saw it. Sorry. But I mean, as long as it's so easy, like the formula for all of these superhero movies, for all movies in general, and we're going to see it soon with Mission Impossible coming out, is just make the movies that are targeted to men, make them manly. The movies that are targeted to women, make them feminine, female. That's that there. I solved Hollywood's whole issues that they're having currently, because it's not hard to make an interesting story for men, with men in it, with men that other men can find inspirational or want to aspire to, with stories that are interesting, failures and how they get over them, and etc. Like, it's very easy. And for women, just make rom-com love stories, maybe even thrillers, but centered around feminine desires and what they're interested, like what we're interested in. I'll include myself in there, because I'll still watch old early 2000s and late 90s rom-coms, because there's nothing good, and I do like them, whatever. There's nothing good coming out that caters to that, because now every single woman has to be superwoman and this great, good at everything. No narrative, no growth, no nothing. It's just women are the best, girl bosses, and that's it. And that's not something I aspire to. So.
Okay, that's as good as it's going to get for today.
Okay. So if the audio doesn't improve, sorry. I'll try to talk over him.
One moment. I'm going to turn off the audio and turn it back on.
Okay. Is mine going to go off too?
Yep.
Okay.
Shutting off. Shutting off. Tell me to wait 1 minute. Okay, it might be back on. It's loading. Last time when I loaded it, it was already working by now. Because I did the same thing on your show. Okay, let's go into Tom Cruise got a standing ovation at the Cannes Film Festival.
Oh, you don't want to talk about Blake Lively?
Oh, we can if you want.
Sure.
Okay.
Speaking of rom-coms and terrible ideas, because Blake Lively's new movie is absolutely atrocious. I've only watched reviews of it and kind of people going over the main plot points. But Another Simple Favor, so the original was A Simple Favor. That one was horrible as well, but this one just takes it over the top. And apparently there's a scene, and I did see this scene, right? They released it on Prime Video, I think, or it's on streaming. You can watch it if you want. Don't. Where she's essentially now a triplet. Spoilers if anybody cares, but she's a triplet, and there's evil twin and evil triplet, and now the triplet wants to have romantic relationships with Blake Lively, and it's herself, and it's very disgusting and confusing, and it just shows the narcissism that this woman has, because she has a lot of control over the movie she does. But now Blake Lively's lawyer fights back against Taylor Swift's blackmail accusation, unequivocally and demonstrably false. So apparently Baldoni's lawyers came out to say that the Blake Lively camp is forcing Taylor Swift to come testify because they have blackmail on her. And that's why they're going to be able to involve maybe Taylor Swift. And Blake Lively's lawyers are now saying that's not true. That
this whole thing is just bringing in all kinds of people. Taylor Swift, Ryan Reynolds, all of her dragons, all of her management staff, all of the management staff at WMG and other related agencies are really getting dragged into this thing. Mm-hmm. And this could be a huge lawsuit that's going to take a lot of people down. They should have settled. They shouldn't have messed with Baldoni in the first place, but now they should have settled by now.
Yes, but I mean, they're narcissistic and egocentric, so.
Okay, let's go into Tom Cruise getting a standing ovation at Cannes. I covered this earlier, so let's just go through it quickly.
Yes, so Tom Cruise's crazy death-defying stunts land 5-minute Cannes standing ovation at Mission Impossible Final Reckoning premiere. I was actually surprised that they were at Cannes. I mean, good for him, but.
Yeah, because Cannes is usually more independent films.
Hoity-toity, yeah.
Yeah.
Artful
art films. And the fact that the art crowd gave him a standing ovation is really going to indicate to me that both the left and the right, this movie is going to appeal to. And he stayed very non-political, which is always good.
That, but also, I mean, number one, it's the last movie he's doing for Mission Impossible, so instantly
I think he'll come back for a cameo for the next one.
Probably, but also the stunts and the fact that maybe he's reminding the whole damn industry to go back to doing actual filmmaking with real things and filming those real things instead of relying on CGI, making everything dark, and now relying on AI. I think it was a breath of fresh air for a lot of the Cannes people and saying, okay, we do remember what filmmaking used to be all about.
Yeah.
So that's why you got him. I mean, because it's his last film.
Okay, let's go into Keir Starmer, and I just put this in there, and he's been saying a lot of this rhetoric over the last 3 days, how he's completely against immigration. This goes against the past decade of everything he said, every policy he's implemented. And if you really wanted to stop immigration, you could just put a moratorium on immigration until they get a hold of it and they can figure things out. Instead, he's saying immigration bad, but we're going to continue to let people in. So, and Donald Trump showed how easy it was to the rest of the world. Yeah. If you want to stop immigration, you can literally do it within 30 days.
Yeah.
And he did it within 6 days. Mm-hmm. And then after 30 days, he had a complete hold on it. Why can't Keir Starmer do the same? He can talk a good game, but that's about it. Let's see what he had to say here.
My headphones are stuck.
want to see much. Just take control of your fucking country.
Yes. I think country.
Okay, let's pause it. He's not going to put a moratorium. He's not going to stop it. He wants to talk like he is so he can get votes, and then that's it. Even if he does something, he's going to highlight that rather than stop it. If you want to stop it, Donald Trump gave you the thing, and let's stop it on day one. When you do something like this and you're talking out both sides of your ass, no, you're not going to get any votes because both sides aren't going to trust you. Whether you're for immigration or against immigration, at least come out on your side. Mark Carney is completely for it. He's trying to talk like he's against it now, but for the most part, he's still talking like he's for it, and I can respect that a little bit more. So, okay. I kind of added that in there because I've been talking about Keir Starmer lying a lot, but it just occurred to me, it's like Donald Trump gave you the model. Just stop the immigrants from coming through, period. Okay, let's go against... the clip of the debate.
Hold on. It's because I didn't have it. So I actually tried to watch this thing, and it became intolerable, so I stopped. But it's one of those Jubilee surrounded videos where they put like one person with a difference of opinion surrounded by people that are against him. So
yeah, the gay guy was much better spoken, but he had bad points, but he knew how to deliver it better. But this guy almost looked like he was crying for the whole video.
Oh, today you kind of look like you're crying.
Donald Trump. Pause it real quick.
Oh, oops.
So he's going right into this brain scan talking point. He knows the talking point. He knows where he wants to take the debate, but he needed to lead up to this a little bit better. But he's completely right, and this guy does fall into the trap he was sitting. But he should have kind of laid the groundwork before he asked about the brain scan.
And that's the problem I have with all of these kind of surrounded and debates and the whole Jubilee stuff, is that they always invite like one smart person, and then the opposite side are complete idiots, all of them. They have no points, and they don't know how to debate, and they're dumb.
Pretty smart.
Yeah, but in general,
yeah,
it becomes unwatchable because the people just sound stupid. Shortens.
Okay, pause it. So he knew what he was trying to ask. He knew the trap he was sitting, but he still stepped right into it because this is the only talking point they have, and they constantly go back to these same talking points, and nobody ever pushes back. And even though he knew he was going into the trap with the brain scan, he still said it because he had no other talking point, and it's a completely false talking point.
Because how do you know?
But he's using his talking point against him.
Yeah.
He's just kind of conceding that fact, even though it's not true. So let's watch the rest of it.
And that's the main problem, trusting the medical professionals, and trust the medicine, and trust the experts, and trust whatever anybody tells you. You just have no agency and no thoughts of your own, and you just have to trust what the medical professionals, who are completely captured and completely disgusting, do. Oh, there's no audio from my computer. Nah. Sorry. Apparently there was no media audio from my computer.
Oh my God, there's no media audio.
Sorry.
Should we do it again?
Okay, does the audio work now? I tried to fix something. Let me know if it works. Do you want to do it again, or did you read the sub? Because there were subtitles. Let me know if that improved the audio. I think I might have fixed it and realized what the issue was.
You try to play it again, so I'll know.
The audio doesn't work. Okay. Does the audio work now? I tried to fix something. Let me know if it works. That's me.
Okay, play the audio again.
Okay.
We'll play the video again just so I can see if the audio is working on my phone here.
They're born trans.
I think they're born trans, yes.
Okay, so you would be okay with them getting any type of either brain scans or anything before they go through medical transition, then, right?
What do you
That way, because 13%, which you stated was 1%, but it's actually 13% of people do detransition. So to
That's not true.
avoid that, no, they can bring up. I'll even show the study on my phone to you right now if you
Well,
want.
I'm sure you have things that say that, but
Yeah,
it
it's
doesn't
working
make
now.
it true.
So you're just invalidating the
Trump
entire
says stuff
study.
that's not true
You're
every day.
invalidating the entire study. Let me ask you this: are you
Oh, I'm
okay
in a different
with
camera.
this medical transition if they get brain scans before the medical transition?
What are you talking about?
Okay, so how do you know someone's born trans? Give me the definition. How do you know they're born trans?
So, transgender is when your gender is not the same as your birth sex.
Okay.
And so when someone says, I'm transgender, then I'm like, okay, so you're transgender.
Okay, so how do you know they're born that way?
They know and they tell us. And then we see that when we affirm their gender, their lifespan and their quality of life increases.
No, it
So you
doesn't.
agree
that
there's
matters
no
to me.
objective way to measure it. It's all subjective, right?
No.
Okay, so what's the objective measurement that someone's born trans?
An objective measurement that someone is born trans.
Correct.
When they say that they are born trans, that is deeply important, but also there's differences in the actual brain of trans people that correlates to their gender.
Like what?
They are more similar to that of their gender than their birth sex.
Okay, so that's an objective way to measure it, in your opinion, correct?
Well, it is a
So
factually
then you're
objective
okay.
way to measure
So
it.
then we could agree that kids should have this brain scan before they medically transition, correct? Wouldn't that be a good middle ground?
I would say
Because
that
you say
I
there's
would,
an objective way to measure it, correct?
I am saying that that is one objective reality of the trans existence. What I am saying is that because all queer and trans people who are transitioning as young people in the United States do so with about 3 to 5 medical professionals, I trust that those medical professionals know more
Okay,
about
that's
that
good.
individual than I do.
Now, that being said, even when the guy didn't want that compromise, but he knew this guy was going to say no to it, probably he had watched some of his videos or something, so he put him in a box and made him look completely unreasonable, which was great in the end, but I would not even give that compromise to him where we're going to do a brain scan, and if they pass this brain scan, then you get to transition. That's craziness.
Yes.
Wait till you're 18. Once you're 18, you're an adult. You can decide whatever you want to do. Okay, let's go into the next story now. And that's Democrats in Minnesota are saying they will fight until the very end to provide taxpayer-funded states with health care for illegals.
You know what I just realized?
What?
I think all my past life I did with my computer's microphone and not my actual microphone.
You what?
The computer's microphone.
With
That's
what?
why they weren't hearing you properly. Because
Oh,
the
the whole episode.
the thing we used to transmit audio to the computer wasn't there.
Is it working now?
Yes, now it is, and now they said that it sounds good.
Ah,
Sorry.
that's fine.
No, that gives me another excuse to talk about Mr. Beast again.
That's why that happened the other day on somebody else's show, and they couldn't figure it out. They spent like 45 minutes live on the air trying to figure out the thing, and I knew what it was right away.
Yeah, but not this time. Sorry. Hopefully the one in my Spanish one the audio wasn't bad.
Well, I'll check it after.
Okay.
Okay, well, let's go into this. I actually didn't watch this clip. I just kind of grabbed it because I wanted to talk about this. I kind of
Thank you
read.
everyone for being here. I'm Senator Elise Mann from Senate District 50. I want to just put an exclamation point on what you just heard, and that was that we had negotiations with a party who does not care about the well-being of people. with a party who was willing to throw the entire state of Minnesota in disarray, to shut down the government. And in return for not doing that, they wanted to take away health care from 20,000 people. That was their priority. Their goal was to take away health care from people. And under the guise of fiscal responsibility. There is no fiscal responsibility when you do this. When you take away
Pause it
people's
real
health
quick.
care, they end up.
So we watched yesterday's clip, and that was about an immigrant that was given free housing and a bunch of other free things in Canada. You're given $81,000 tax-free, which is the equivalent of $160,000 in Canadian dollars if you had to pay taxes. And they asked the immigrant, well, what would you do if we didn't give you housing? He goes, well, I'll go to another country that's giving good benefits as well.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what he said. And that's why they're trying to de-incentivize immigrants from coming, or illegals that are there, to kind of drive them out. They're offering free plane tickets to anywhere they want to go in the world. There is a big suspicion that a lot of them are going to ask for tickets to Canada, then claim refugee status when they get there, because the Canadian government is
they'll
still
just say yes.
they're open to these open border policies and things like this.
Yeah. Why does every single one of them look ugly or like a potato? It is true that
She kinda
Democrats are
looks
uglier.
like she looks like the an older version of the girl from The Last of Us. Okay, keep
But
playing.
Democrats are uglier than Republicans or conservatives.
The emergency department. It costs more money for everyone in the community. It costs hospitals more money. It puts our healthcare system in disarray. It makes our healthcare system weaker. Of course, families fall into poverty. So there is no fiscal, there is no economic argument to be made when we take away people's health care. So what they did was purely cruel. It was cruelty dressed as fiscal responsibility. There is no other outcome for when you take away people's health care. And this, I will say this again, was their number one priority. So what we have is a party who was willing to take away insulin
Okay, that's
from
good enough. We
diabetics.
get her kind of talking
That
point.
lady's facial
but
expressions
this
are
is
funny.
now an 80-20 issue in the United States. In other countries, I understand it's not an 80-20 issue, but in the United States, it is. The tides have turned against illegal immigration. The United States is still for legal immigration, and they allow more legal immigration than any other country. They're even willing to increase their legal immigration limits if they can tone down their illegal immigration. So that being said, this is now an 80-20 issue. People do not want to fund illegal immigrants for housing, for Medicare, for any of this stuff, and the Democrats are still fighting for this, thinking this is 5 years ago or 10 years ago, and it's not. People are against illegal immigration in the United States now, and if they continue on this path, come the next election or the midterms, this is not a good policy to live and die on.
And also because they see half of their, at least a bunch of their border base leave on airplanes
Yeah.
and be deported. So of course they're going to get mad that they're losing all of these votes.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Okay.
that's why they want them there, actually. And now people say, Rafa says the show wouldn't be the same without the bloopers. So I'm glad you enjoy them.
Well, that camera keeps going out. It's not charging properly. I probably
Yeah.
have to change the settings
The cor-
because I keep all the
yeah.
cameras plugged in so they constantly charge. That one, for some reason, isn't.
Maybe
So-
it's the battery.
No, maybe the cord.
Rafa also says, just like Millet said, right wingers are superior in everything, even in their aesthetics. Exactly. He isn't, but most of them are.
Malay's.
Millet is
I
not
didn't-
attractive.
I actually took
He's
the.
very ugly.
I took the article out, but Millet is emulating Trump and trying to get rid of illegal immigrants in Argentina right now.
Yeah.
He's changing a bunch of policies. I don't know. Argentina may need the population though, so.
Because they're, I mean, everywhere. Chile is also completely to the brim with immigrants as well. Walker says, actually, all Democrats look like villains straight out of Batman comics. That's probably where they get their inspiration.
Well, but the girl from The Last of Us was the hero, isn't she?
The potato?
Yeah, so that was the older version of the potato.
Older potato.
Okay, next we have
This one also looks like a potato.
Alberta separatist
See?
movement. So this is the kind of stuff that's coming out on social media, and I've kind of been talking about Canada is talking down to Albertans openly, saying you'll never separate from Canada. They already treat them like the doormat of Canada for the past 10 years, even though Alberta is the one floating the majority of all the provinces with their oil revenue, and the rest of Canada is trying to minimize their oil revenue, even though they're the ones funding the entire thing. But there's a ton of videos like this on social media. I thought I would highlight one tonight because I realized I hadn't. So let's watch this. This is a Canadian talking about Albertans and her view on it.
Hey, Alberta. Hey, a bunch of fucking separatist
Sorry,
wackos. How you doing? Feeling good about yourselves? You're an embarrassment to this country. Everything you have, everything that you have enjoyed, cherished, and benefited from comes from being part of one of the greatest countries
That's
on the
wrong.
planet. You guys have your heads so far up your asses that you obviously can't see what pricks you are. The way you are treating Indigenous people, the way you are treating your fellow citizens, your fellow Canadians, you guys are a bunch of creepy little pricks. Alberta will never separate from Canada. It's never going to happen
like an
because people
abusive
like me
relationship.
are going to stand up,
You're not
throw their
leaving me
shoulders
ever.
back, and keep fucking yelling and keep standing up for what I know is right. And what you guys are doing is
Pause it. Oh, just let it play. It's almost done. For what she knows is right. What's right? That you're not allowed to leave this relationship?
Yes.
This is like
So
a husband saying, you're not allowed to leave me.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere.
I'm standing here and you're staying because that's what's right. Like when she's talking to Albertans like this, this is going to be the first time in modern history where a province or a state has the opportunity to actually reverse roles with the government. Rather than the elites ruling over the people are going to have a say whether they stay, become independent, or eventually join the U.S. And I hope they do because that really sets a new paradigm for the government to start respecting the wishes of their people. Because recently these globalists, over the past more than a decade now, it's been like 4 decades, have really been separating from the people and doing what they want rather than what the people want. And the people are voicing their opinions.
And they are taking advantage of Albertans. Like,
Yeah, they have been for decades.
Potato lady.
And the government, like Doug Ford and Mark Carney were talking about Alberta like this over the past month. So they've changed their rhetoric because polling's starting to come back. That all these videos that the government that has government premiers and other Canadian citizens talking to Albertans like this is driving Albertans to want to separate even more.
And that's why they wanted to separate for the longest time. I mean, they get called rednecks. They get called Texas of Canada in a bad way. Everybody laughs at Albertans. It's because they're religious, so they blame a lot of what they do on their religion.
Their votes disenfranchised because they have the same amount of population as other parts in Canada, yet the other parts of Canada have double the votes for the same amount of population. They're scared if they gave Alberta a real vote like the rest of Canada has, that the Liberals wouldn't be voted in, so it's a way for them to rig the system. They're also just taking these remittance payments to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars out of Albertans' pockets, and then they charge them more taxes, more carbon tax and more other tax.
And also, Alberta's the one that produces most of the things that Canada has to either export or within its own provinces.
And as far as the native tribes that are in Alberta, the Canadian government is currently trying to pay them off. So they'll go against this Alberta separatist movement. But if they were smart, they would join the Albertans and separate to really stick it to the Canadian government.
Yeah, because the Canadian government has also walked all over them.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to say what they've done. But Walker says the potato. They're all potatoes, apparently, today. And then that lady is very angry for no reason.
Okay, let's go into Mexican Shine Bomb.
Another.
Mexican President Claudia
Well, she
Sheinbaum.
lately looked like a potato because of the Botox, but usually she looks like the Crypt Keeper, the lady version of the Crypt Keeper. Ugh. Is it in
Well,
Spanish?
her face went down a little bit,
A
so
little bit. Is it in Spanish or English?
I don't know. I didn't watch it. I just read the headline.
Okay, so Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum says the Mexican government is united against the U.S. putting a tax on remittances because it is an injustice that is discriminatory because all Mexicans, legal or illegal in the U.S., already pay taxes. Not true. Yeah, it's in Spanish.
Okay, so you've already kind of read it.
But I just want people to listen to her voice for a little bit because it's annoying as hell.
Una carta el Senado con todos los partidos políticos diciendo no, eso no, a ver cómo van a grabar si ya pagan impuestos los mexicanos allá.
I don't know why she insists to do the same voice AMLO used to do, which was also annoying, but talk super slow.
Well, this is the thing with these remittance payments. They're getting taxed 5%. 5% is low for our taxes
Yes.
in general. And you really want, the United States is trying to bring manufacturing back, put these tariffs in. They're trying to have a protectionist, nationalist economy. They want to keep all the money that's in the U.S. circulating
US.
within the U.S. There's a huge immigration population, not just from Mexico, but from all over the world, and billions of dollars leave the economy. So if Mexico really wants to do something about this, they can start a payment system like PayPal or something like that online, but they're not going to do that. They're just going to complain about the U.S. government.
Or they can improve their own damn country so the people, as I said in Spanish, don't want to leave it. But because of security issues, because there's no opportunities, because they can't get any money here, they have to leave. So it's actually shameful that they're coming out against the U.S. saying, "Meh, the U.S., bad U.S., rights, human rights," when it's actually their fault that those people had to leave in most cases and that they're searching for a better life.
Yeah, I mean,
And the U.S. too, that allowed them to come in, but still.
she's lucky he's not stopping remittance payments totally.
Yeah,
Just
true.
because if he wanted to really put pressure on immigrants that are in the United States and he really want to get rid of them, he would end
Yeah.
remittance payments totally. He put 5% on it, which is very low,
Low, yeah.
and it's not going to have much of an effect at all.
But now it's discriminatory and
but if
injustice.
there was no remittance payments, they would leave. Most of the immigrants would leave instantly,
Pretty
and he
quickly.
knows that. But they need immigrants in the United States. They need a certain amount.
Yes, especially
So-
the ones that are working and producing money, but that money should mostly stay within the states.
Yeah.
And that's that's okay for the U.S. to want that.
And also, although he could put a moratorium on these payments, he decided to put a 5% on there, and he's smart with 5% because if you put more than 5%, if he did 10 or 15%, a private company would come in and start making electronic remittance payments and taking 5%.
Yes.
So that's why he kept it low, so a private company wouldn't come in and try to fight back.
But a lot of people that are there legally are very wary of using anything online or their names being discovered because they're scared that they're going to get
yeah.
sent back. So I don't know how much they would be willing to use payment service while they're in the U.S. because they're scared of, making a presence.
yeah,
Their
and
presence known.
I would wonder about stablecoin, Bitcoin, things like that. But because it's going back to poorer countries typically aren't using them,
Yeah.
except there are a couple in South America right now.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go into the next story. It's another Mexican story I was able to get. Oh, she's happy.
Well, yeah, she's throttling the rule of law. Of course she's happy. Mexico's government is throttling the rule of law. Elected judges will be bad for governance and good for gangs. Oh, I
And,
can't read it.
This
But we
was-
can talk about it.
This is a sly move by the Mexican government because populism is huge right now worldwide, and people don't know Mexican politics very well.
Mm-hmm.
So when they hear, "Oh, you're electing your own judges," this is great. But what they don't understand is the level of corruption within Mexico. The Mexican government shares powers with other organizations that are criminal organizations. So that being said, in the last Mexican elections, a lot of people ended up losing their lives and things like that were running for office. So similar things are going to happen with these judicial elections. And
I mean, it just happened
it's
a
a
few
way
days
to
ago.
it's really a way to rig the system, but the rest of the world doesn't know that. So this comes off very well for her to the rest of the politicians in the rest of the world.
I don't know.
It does.
That they're letting that the judicial system go down the trash.
No, it's not. It's not framed that way by most other countries. Is the thing. I watch a lot of social media about this. That's not Mexican based or not South American based.
What are they saying?
They're saying, "Oh, this is good. The people get to decide the future of the country. They get to vote in the judges. Judges in the United States, the U.S. influencers are saying U.S. judges are extremely corrupt. We would want to have the vote." But the
It's like
thing
they don't remember what happened with their own voting system.
yeah,
even.
but the thing, it's different in the United States, Canada, Europe. Judges aren't intimidated into not running. Here, the only people that are going to be running are the people that they want to get elected,
Yes.
and there's not going to be a real opposition.
Yes.
That's why they don't really understand the threat of real violence within the political system.
But also the judicial system, the law should be impartial. It should not be subject to a vote because that actually makes, I mean, for politicians, it's good because now they want to keep their promises. But what happens when you're electing a judge who's supposed to be impartial are they going to be partial to the people that elected them and got them there in the first place? So
Yeah.
it completely removes impartiality.
Yeah, I don't know. In some countries, I wouldn't mind a vote, but in other countries, I think there's too much of a threat of violence. So
I just think, in general, justice should be separate
I
from
don't like
the mechanism
I don't
of
like
democracy.
I don't like appointed officials and stuff like that. Neither in school boards or government.
What about
So
the
I like
Supreme Court?
I like a vote.
Would you like the Supreme Court to be voted in?
Yeah. I would like
It's
a
supposed
vote.
to be half and half.
I personally like a vote if you have a clean political system that's free of violence. I prefer a democratic vote. So I would actually prefer something
But
like
then
this.
wouldn't that make those judges want to side even more with
It
the
depen-
people that voted for them?
Well, it depends how often they're voted in. Is it a lifelong appointment? Is it not a lifelong appointment? How are the but you also want judges to not become activist judges like they have in the United States right now.
That too.
So-
But I mean, they could vote in. People that want those activist judges could vote them in.
So yeah, but people's political awareness would have to come up. And in
Well,
the-
yes, of course.
In the United States, political awareness has changed because of social media and things like this.
Mm-hmm.
Where we were just talking the other day about it. The things that are trending in the United States are very often political stories. But if you look in places like Mexico, it's always sports and movies
And reality TV.
and reality TV.
Yes.
So what happened with independent social media is they talked about the, how do you say it, chisme?
Chisme.
They talked about
Gossip.
the gossip, the chisme, and then they slowly integrated politics with it.
Yeah.
And this is what gave a political awareness to the general public who was not paying attention to politics. Now people come to these social influencers primarily for politics,
Creators, yeah.
not for the chisme or chisme,
Chisme.
whatever it's called.
Yes. And I mean, when you have a democracy, the whole point of it is supposed to be that the people are informed, the voters are informed, and it only works with an informed population on the issues, on the politicians, on what they actually want. But because the levels of education also, and because they don't want them to be informed, because that way they
Yeah.
just hand out money and that's how you get them to vote for you, it's never going to change. And that's for all parties, not just the
Oh, yeah.
Bienestar idiots.
And we have another Mexican story.
Yes, but we do have some comments.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I'll
let's
just
read the
do
comments.
those first. Arturo Caldiño says, hi, hello, thank you for being here. Walker says, all leftists do that. Maduro speaks just like Chavez. I guess they think they can be the old politician imitating his tone. Yes, because she didn't used to talk like that. I mean, she was
But when it-
insufferable, but she wasn't.
But when AMLO
didn't talk
does it,
that.
like I don't even speak the language, but it sounds a little bit better with a deeper voice. When she does it, it's just annoying.
Both sides. Rafa says, maybe Mexico could counter with a tax to money withdrawals from foreign countries. And Rafa says that could be used also for those foreigners that do remote job and earn more than locals but live here, which raises living expenses for the locals. So yeah, Mexico, I guess, could tax all the, what are they called? The digital nomads that go live wherever they want, if they want to. I
Yeah,
guess.
but they need to really lure digital nomads here because other countries are competing for these
That
digital
too.
nomads because it artificially inflates the GDP of the country.
And I'm guessing like Vietnam and Singapore will never tax them.
No.
Because they love having them there, even though they do change pricing and everything for the locals
Yeah.
sometimes. And Osvaldo Hernandez says, so if Alberta separates from Canada, are we going to have our own currency, military defense? Are we going to get our own CPP transferred? Vocalizing
Alberta, it sounds like.
separatism is one thing, but facing reality is different. So I have asked, like, what would happen?
Yeah, so I've looked a little bit into this, and Alberta, for the most part, is landlocked, but there's international treaties and laws, and the maritime laws as well. So there's 9 different laws that would give Alberta direct access to the ocean. BC wouldn't be able to stop any travel by taxing Alberta goods or anything else like that from their ports. They would also be allowed to use the U.S. ports. The U.S. also said they would recognize Alberta. Alberta wouldn't need their own military because America would protect them for different oil contracts and things like that. America has always protected Canada, even though Canada hasn't invested in their own military. To say that Alberta doesn't have a military. And that America is not going to protect them. No, America is going to protect them. And America would allow, I would think, open immigration, at least under a conservative government, from Alberta. Ultimately, I think Alberta would end up joining the United States. And I don't know if a lot of people think that's not a better idea, but after what happened during the jibby jab era, where we seen what happened with the Canadian Constitution, and as soon as the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, that as soon as they declare emergency, all of your rights disappear. In the United States, at least you will have constitutional protections. Housing prices will drop through the floor, which would be great for young people in Alberta. Things like this. You would also have free travel to the United States. So a lot of people that live and work in Alberta would probably work in Alberta for the high-paying jobs and then buy a house in a warmer climate.
So I'm guessing the U.S. could either like Puerto Rico it, like make them like a Puerto Rico-ish,
No, they wouldn't, because they're
wouldn't?
already so culturally similar, and they want all the.
or they would just absorb it.
Yeah, or they could.
Because I mean, could they be their own country?
They could even
the country
leave
of
them,
Alberta.
they could even leave them as their own country and start to sit up, because this is the first time it's going to really set a precedent. So they can do a lot of different tax things as well. So they could take the U.S. dollar and offer Alberta to use the U.S. dollar, so they can get other countries to utilize the U.S. dollar as well as their own currency. So there's a lot of creative things they can do. What were some of the other questions he asked there?
Military defense
Military, yep.
and CPP, so Canadian Pension Plan transferred. So like stuff, like what would happen with the more bureaucratic part of it?
So as soon as the separatists vote, they already have 220,000 votes, by the way, signatures. They only needed 120,000. But when they put in the paperwork, they want to send a message to show they have a ton of signatures. Also, if any signatures are rejected, they want it to have so many signatures it's not going to matter. As far as CPP payments and other payments, as far as native lands and things like that, by Canadian law, what happened with Quebec, not the Supreme Court, but the High Court in Canada had to step in and kind of legislate what would happen if they did vote to separate. Basically, all parties have to come to the table once the vote's been confirmed and they're going to separate, and then they have to come to negotiated terms.
So the precedent is there, essentially.
Yeah, Alberta may have to take some of Canada's debt as well, but they have so much oil money, they would be able to pay it all, their portion of that debt fairly quickly. The reason we showed that clip earlier with that lady, and she's extremely angry. She's angry because Canada would fall like a bunch of dominoes if Alberta separates. It would mean the end of Canada.
Because they rely so much on them and yet don't do anything to help them. And then military defense, like again, if it joins with the U.S., they have it. Otherwise, if they become their own
Trump
country,
said the
I'm
other
guessing.
day, we already protect Canada. We would never stop protecting Canada, but we want you to do their fair share.
And I mean, I'm guessing they could also build up their own military if they become their own country. I don't know. I mean, there have been
all hardworking military-age conservative men, so a lot of those people would want to join the military.
The U.S. or their own?
Their own military.
And then the
US.
CPP, I don't think they'd let you take it all out just before Alberta leaves. I'm guessing it would either get rolled over into a similar system in the U.S. or become its own system if they become their own country. I mean, there have been countries that split off and separate and divide in the past. It has happened.
I think what would happen is they would take a portion of the Canadian debt. The CCP would be deducted from that portion of the debt they have to pay. So ultimately, they would have to pay less. Then I think the U.S. Or international body would give Alberta a major loan to fill their own CCP to the same, or CPP,
Canadian Pension Plan,
to the same level for everybody that had kind of paid into it. So.
I feel stupid because I paid into it and now I can't do anything with it because I'm here.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
well, let's continue to go on now.
For me, it was worth it just to leave.
Was there more questions or no?
No.
Okay. Let's go into the Mexico influencer.
So, killing of a Mexican influencer. Oh, sorry. Ending of the life of a Mexican influencer live on TikTok raises questions. And I try not to talk about it in Spanish because I'm still iffy on what I think. But
And I mainly didn't bring this up for this story. I just kind of wanted to talk about influencers' lives being in danger, and not hers because she's a beauty influencer, but political influencers and things like this in Mexico tend to steer away from Mexican stories and things like this. But if Mexico ever wants to have a political awakening, the alternative media and influencers are going to have to be the force that drives the corruption kind of out of the country and shines a light on things. The only way for that to happen in Mexico and places like Mexico where there's a threat of violence is for influencers to remain anonymous, to mean have a caricature of yourself on the screen, not your actual face, so people don't know who you are. They'll have to hide their identities. Now, people like Jordan Peterson are saying, "Oh, we need no anonymity online." in places like Mexico and other places, you have to have anonymity. It's absolutely crucial. Getting canceled here means more than just losing your job.
Yes.
So,
And I mean, in this case, there's also speculation. This is just speculation that there was some involvement with the Bad Peoples, and that's what actually happened, or some jealousy, or I mean, there's a lot of questions. Will it ever get answered? Probably not. I mean, they're not going to want to answer it, the government at least. So.
sorry, I was trying to. Okay. Let's go into the next story, which is the NHS. And we'll go over this quickly because these two stories we had covered on my afternoon show.
Yeah, so the NHS, which is the National Health Service in the UK, so Britain, previously acknowledged that children under 7 are just too young to be assessed for gender dysphoria. It has now removed this safeguard following activist pressure, of course, and is treating children of nursery age. This represents a grave abandonment of clinical responsibility. And apparently, under 7s to be seen by clinics as health service caves in to activists on
And
age
maybe
limits.
this is a good time to go to RUMBLE so we can kind of talk about this. And I have
Sure.
2 other stories that are a little bit too controversial to talk with clips. So we're going to head over to the Green Monster. That's RUMBLE. Just look for Nat and the guy over there. There's only one channel. It's not split into 2.
No.
And you'll find us.
Yes.
If you haven't liked and subscribed, please do so. It really helps the channel. It's
This
small
one,
and
yes.
growing. Our main channel is a Spanish
In
language
Espanol,
channel.
yeah, in Spanish. And that one's doing really good too, so thank you for that. But yes, if you want to see both of us now, we're on this channel.
Yeah.
So we'll see you over at RUMBLE, and you can find it through just our name.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, let's head over there.
Yes.
And I'll wait till everybody gets over here before I
Yes.
start discussing this particular story. We have another story that we're going to